This is my height gauge that I've had for the longest time. I think it was probably one of the first tools I made for myself back in the day. And this comes out of a Woodsmith magazine, and you're measuring your height off of the scale that's attached to this via a rare earth magnet. And so you bottom this out at the same time on your work, whatever you're working on. So that now becomes 0, and then you're reading the scale off of your brass indicator here. You know, it's a nice tool, works great, but it's getting me close, I guess. And I'd like to be a little closer than that. So if I set that at 1/4 of an inch and measure it, not bad, not bad. 2485, you know, not bad for the first time. Let's see, well, there it is. So the thing about this is, though, it's got to set, you know, right over the blade, and if you happen to get it off to one side or the other, and it ends up rocking on your table saw insert, then you've got a little bit of a problem. But you know, for what it's designed to do, it does pretty well. But I'm looking to do a little bit better, you know, in case I want to do something in between. I don't know why, but you want to be a few thousandths deeper or a few thousandths shallower. You're not going to get that with this, you know. So I'm going to take this idea. This is what I came up with here. Is this my original idea was to come up with this, mounting my dial indicator to the back of this board. This would then sit flush like so. Let me zoom out here a little bit. There we go. This would sit flush on your table, and then your height would be adjusted here. The thing about all depth gauges is you want to reach that. You want this to be right at the tangent point of your blade, and that's the other thing about this, is that there's such a small surface here that you're constantly moving it back and forth to find that, where this gives you that room to make sure you're over the blade. And then if you just tick the top of this with your blade, you're going to be at the depth you want. So I've come up with a different idea. Still a 3-inch board. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to shift this groove over. It's going to be a 1/2 inch groove, 1/2 inch from the edge, and then the depth will be whatever. That can be arbitrary in this case. And I'm going to show you how I'm going to make those pieces. This gauge right now has a range of about just under 1 inch. The thing that I want to do too is get the gauge slid over a little this way, so that I can run a bolt up and down this slot to lock whatever depth I want to set it to, and then put it over the tool I want that tool to be at. I'm going to have different holes here so that I can have 1 inch range, 2 inch range, 3 inch range if I need it, and then we'll go from there. But let me show you how I'm going to make this. All right, I'm starting out with a couple of pieces of Baltic birch, and I've got, this is off of my old outfeed table, and so it's laminated, but I like that because it's going to increase the slippery factor, the sliding factor. So they're a little bit longer and wider than what I need, and that's important. What I want is 3 inches. These are 3.5, and I wanted about 10, and these are about 12 and 12 and a half. They were cut from the same piece. So they're identically the same width, just not the same length. So from here we're gonna go to the table saw, and I'm gonna make my groove in one of them, and the other one I'm going to remove everything but the piece that goes in that slot. And I'm going to show you how I do that so that you get a nice tight fit. Okay, I got my dado set in and set for a 1/2 inch cut. I'm going to check that though before I go ahead and do this. But the first thing I want to do is I want to run these both pieces against my fence and take a little skim cut off of this to make sure that they're the exact same width, and I then have my 0 starting point, which will be this edge. So let me make those cuts here. The other thing I want to do is I want to mark the edge that is going against the fence, so I put arrows on both of them. So I know that I ran them this way, okay? Now then, I've got that set. I'm going to move my fence a 1/2 inch and make an outside cut to make the start of my male part that's going to fit in the female part. So I'm going to take this one, the long one, flip it over. I'm going to drop my blade down here. And like I said, this is kind of an arbitrary measurement, but as long as you're doing both pieces, you'll be okay. I'm fine with where it is right there. So I'm going to move over 1/2 inch. Okay, right there. And I'm going to make this cut. Okay. Now then, the next cut is going to be this one, another 1/2 inch over, and I want to make sure this is almost like making a box joint, but I want to make sure before I make the cut in this that what I'm dealing with is a 1/2 inch dado. So I'm going to move this over a 1/2. Right there. Now I should have had a piece ready here, scrap piece. Let me find something. Alright, that's telling me that it's about maybe 6 to 7 thousandths under a half. Depends upon how much I pull on that caliper, because I'm dealing with wood here. So I'll call it 6 under. But that's pretty close. So if I go over this half, what that means is this will be correct. But then I'm gonna go over a half of this to make this tongue. And that means this might be a little fat if I go another half, which is okay. I can deal with that. I'd rather it be fat than skinny. So let me make this cut. Okay, so you can see where I'm going with that. And now I'm just going to jog over another half. This board is done. This is the one we've got to clean up. So I'm going over another half, and now I'm going to try and see what the measurement is on that tongue and how it's going to fit in that groove. But if it's fat, that'll be good. I'll come back to this in a minute. Okay, so let's go over. Yeah, 1/2 inch again. And I am going to go fat. Oh, I'm going the wrong way, sorry. That should be 0, which it is. Okay, now half. Okay, so this is going to be intentionally fat. Let's see how this turns out. I moved my fence over 2/1000ths of an inch further than what I should be. I moved it over about 10/1000ths further than I should be, and I'm at .517. I'm about 17/1000ths over, but it's very consistent. Now there it's a little fatter, I should say. I'll make one more pass here, making sure that I'm getting a good clean cut. 517 and a half, 518 and a half. So we're pretty good. All right, but my groove is 490. So that's about right. I would have been 10 thousandths over. I'm about 20 thousandths over. So I'm going to back this up. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to remember this as 0. Hang on one second. I'm going to set this at 0. This is my starting point. This will now be my starting point at 0 to remove material this way. I'm going to clean up the rest of this to within about 1/4 of an inch or so. And then that will give me, what that will give me is, it's not going to rock while I'm cleaning it up. And these two pieces are going to be a little wide of each other. I guess I can do that way. I can try to fit this way. So we'll make one more pass and we'll come back and start to clean up. I was thinking I'd have to lay it together this way. But let's do that. Let's make one more pass and then we'll come back. Tight. We know that. We knew that was going to be tight. I'm going to go back to my 0 mark and we're going to start to get this cut exactly where we want it. All right, there's 0. So let's take off about 15 thousandths here. Incidentally, I'm reading my gate, you can't see it here, I'll show it to you. I'm reading my dial indicator off of my table saw fence. I'm going to remove this amount. We'll see where we're at. Okay, I'm at 502, 503, 503. I'm just going to keep playing around with this until I get the fit I want. I'm about 10 thousandths off still. So I'm going to move it over. I'm going to move it over about 8. But let me show you my setup there for the way I have my dial indicator. So there's my indicator. I'm just going to bump this over about 5. I'm sorry, this way. And make another pass. And then I'm just going to keep doing this until I get the fit that I want, and then I'll come back. All right, it was 2 more cuts. And now I've got the exact fit I want. There's no wiggle. Nice slick fit. Moves easily. And now I can just go about and clean up that little, that's okay. There, I guess I was kind of leaning on it this way. So that's a nice fit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean up the rest of this to within about 1/4 of an inch or so. And that's why I made them wider. Then we're going to make one more pass through the table saw and clean them up again on the other edge to get them to be the exact same width, which is about 3 inches. We'll see how it works out. So let me continue to remove the material here. This is easy now. So I have a nice flat bottom, and that's why you need this piece out here, so that as you're doing it, you don't lose it and tip it over. So let me see what we've got here for width. Yeah, we're at 3.5 or 3 3/8 plus 3 7/16. Somewhere in there. So I can take this now, and because I lost my arrow, I put it on the back side. This is the face that was going against the fence. I want to keep that. I'm going to flip it. How can we do that? Well, we can't, can we? Alright, we're going to have to rotate pieces. Yeah. Rotate them both anyway. So I'll change blades. I'll go back to my combination blade. We'll operate off the other side, off of the opposite side now. Rip them to width, and then we'll come back. All right, this isn't necessary, but I'm going to do it anyway. I ended up being that 8 or 9 thousandths off, whatever the heck it was. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this pass with the two pieces together. I'll rotate them and then make another pass, so that I have a flush edge here. Yeah, that's nice. So that's the beginning of my height gauge. Now, I only need, about 3 inches of this. I'll determine which piece I want to use there. Suppose while you were doing this, you could make one for a buddy too, because you're going to end up with a lot of extra this if you made a couple more bodies, a couple of more female parts while you're at it. You could take these and section them off and use them. Anyway, that's where I'm at. So So that's what I'm looking at right there. This will adjust up and down. And I'll make this cut now. And then we'll come back. Before I do that, before I cut this off, I want to drill a hole, 1/4 inch hole for a bolt. That's a carriage bolt. That's going to be my lock. That's going to go in here. And it's also going to be the start of a slot in this piece. So I want to have that starting point be the same. I'll locate a hole here, drill that through both pieces at the same time, so that I know that when it's bottomed out, that's going to be my 0. So let me do that, and then I'll come back to the router table and show you how I'm going to route that slot.